Hello again. We're still working on the Bally Gameshow CPU board. Last repair, I replaced some resistors in the row drivers. I took the board back and put it into the machine, and it worked, but only for one game, and then we had more light problems. And the row that I had done some work on before was not working again. So I brought it back home, put it on the bench, and this is the row driver here is on pin 5 of this header, and it turned out that this transistor was intermittently working. Sometimes it was working, sometimes it wasn't. So TIP 122. So I took the opportunity to replace the transistor, and I also replaced the diode in the path there. So you can see we've had trouble with these resistors here. Oh, actually, this is the part of the circuit here with this resistor and this transistor. So I also changed this diode, and we can see now that it's up and working, but still not all is right. As you can see here, if I take this clip across all of the rows, you can see we have each row is doing something. Pin 3, pin 2, and pin 1. So I'll just put it back onto pin 5 here. But not the same can be said for the columns. So it appears as though we have a column fault or a couple of column faults as well. Nothing. Pin 3 is working. Pin 4 is not. Pin 6 is not. Pin 7 is not. Pin 8 is. And pin 9 is not. Now that's a lot of things gone bad. And again, they seem to be coming and going. I made some notes just a minute ago as to which of the columns was working and which ones weren't. Pin 9 for column 8, it was working a moment ago. It's not working now. Try it on some different rows. No, not working. So I took my multimeter and did a couple of tests with the power off. And here's the part of the circuit we're looking here for the column drivers. They call them strobes here. And the column drivers go through these transistors, some fairly high power resistors here, some little Darlington transistors here, and then over to U52 and U53 here and here. So I did some tests with a multimeter to make sure these pull-up resistors are all working okay, and they're part of the this resistor bank here, SR70. They're all fine. They're measuring 4.7K. I measured diode voltages from each of these points to ground. So pretty much it's through the Darlington, and I got about 1.2 volts for every one of them. So that seems to be okay on these Darlington transistors. But again, what I'm not happy with at this stage is the output of these two AND gates. And just before we put the probe to them, again we can see something interesting here, and that is that the output of the AND gate is driving this Darlington transistor and through to ground. So pretty much the maximum voltage we should see at this point will be the 1.2 volt drop you get across this Darlington transistor base emitter junction. So unlike the inputs, which are nice logic 5-volt levels, the output here will be between 0 volts and about 1 volt. So we can go through and have a look at pins 3, 6, 8 and 11 on these two chips. And hopefully you can see the scope okay. So U53 pin 3. You can see the input to these chips is an AND gate, so there's 2 inputs. You know, there's pin 1, a nice 5-volt logic signal. Pin 2, a nice 5-volt logic signal. And pin 3, you'll note, as we just mentioned, it's capped out at 1 volt. But look, there's a nice output there. So we've got an input, and an output. And there we are on pin 6 of U53. And really there's no output there to speak of. Same over here. If we go to pin 3, there's no output. Pin 6, we've just got a bare whisker of an output there, which is better than nothing, but as you can see, the width of that pulse is very narrow. Pin 8, nothing. And pin 11, there's a nice output. If we just put a few more on the screen. So at this stage, I can't rule out a fault with the Darlington transistors, but I'm thinking it might well be these 7408 chips. The solder on them's very crusty indeed. It's been particularly difficult to probe and get reliable readings, but that's not going to affect what's happening here. But I think what I'll do is I'll pull one of them from the circuit and see if we can analyze it a bit more.